Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan who's on a journey to know everything about Object Shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello, welcome into Object Catchup. This is where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, it has been a couple of days. One day because I was lazy, and the other day because I ended up being busy by surprise. Which means that there's been a couple of days since Catchup, and this has been a consistent problem. Throughout the past few weeks, as Catchup is becoming a little bit more of, I guess, a longer term project in the sense where, I've been doing it for a while, it starts to kind of sometimes, when there's a bigger idea, also fade itself into the background a bit, which is sad because, I am focused and I am motivated. However, sometimes you can be motivated in the long term, you can be motivated in the middle term. However, you're not motivated that day, that hour, it's just hard to get stuff done. So, we're gonna see. I'll need to, start to live with it a bit more and improve, but that stuff will be happening behind the scenes. In the meantime, today we're gonna be watching some Keep Up episodes from creators previously covered releases. I'll be again doing it based on chronological order with this new list where I cover them based on views. So we're gonna see what we can do today, and we're gonna hope for the best. All right. We're gonna do what I have here, and then hopefully, if there's time, I'll do some extra. But we're going to start off here with the big episode, one of the biggest episodes, which I didn't watch because of the break, which I had forced there in March, was the surprise third episode of WOAS. Yes, in only 1 month, we managed to go from WOAS 2 to WOAS 3, which is a very good set of times, especially considering, the 7-month gap between WOAS 1 and WOAS 2. As a reminder for what happened in WOAS 2, we ended up having the eliminated character be Mangosteen. In the meantime, the challenge was to pop a popcorn. Some teams had interesting tactics to do so, and yet again, this team that is just absolutely abysmal ended up losing. We'll see who will get out, but let's see, will we have a team lose 3 times in a row? Is that a bit too bold of a decision? Let's find out. In WOAS 3, Protec, but also Attac. Okay, so that is WOAS, or Wish on a Star, episode 3, Protec, but also Attac. That is an accurate description of the challenge, but first, we end up hosting, ourselves the Elimination Muffin or Nothing, where, we end up having the eliminated contestant to be Pinata. Yeah, that makes sense. Pinata was kind of this type of character that was just a little bit creepy, didn't really have the best ideas, was a bit too focused on their own personal game rather than, benefiting the team, and in general, was a little bit of a negative influence to the Disaster team, although of course the Disaster team is globally a disaster, but to get held out on the fact by Rusty Pipe is no longer Rusty because they died, right? Is that what's going on? So their death in the last challenge means that they've gone from Rusty Pipe because of whatever the hell might have happened before, and now they're back to being a Shiny Pipe, so we can get to see their voice, and they're back to being a character to some level of usability. Which is nice. That does help out the team a lot, just having an additional character of usefulness, because especially since it seems like Shiny Pipe, I mean, they're giving me vibes of ego, but at the same time, you kind of need a little bit of that in this team. So yeah, Pinata is gone. So, goodbye, and then we have ourselves the challenge. The challenge is a bounty hunt. Yes, every team has one member which needs to be killed. If they die, then your team loses. So, basically, that means that you must attack other people's targets, of course, so the challenge ends, but protect yours. Good challenge. However, there is an interesting thing about it. So one of the interesting things about it is that, of course, it is a bit of a segmented challenge in the sense where it's not kind of like the other ones where every team needs to do this, right? It's not every team needs to achieve this, it's just one team needs to fail. This is the other type of challenge, right? Which makes it a theoretically faster challenge now. Which could also possibly explain the very good production time of the episodes. Great production time. But that's absolutely elite level time. Being able to get episodes out this quick is truly elite. And it's a very good sign because, of course, right, like WOAS, 7 months per episode, it's looking a little bit unrealistic that we're getting much of anywhere with that. So being able to sort of speed up that production definitely is a big plus. So we'll see if the show will go along those lines more or if it's going to chill out. It should probably chill out a little bit. But like in general, the production time is very solid. Anyways, on each team, do we have the targets being Alarm Clock, Target, the Shiny Pipe, the whatever you call it, fuck, Graph Paper, yes, they're called Graph Paper, a Lizard Tail, and then finally Recovery Center. So then they proceed to go off. The best strategy for the challenges and for any challenges involve hiding is just leave. Just go as far away as possible. It's not worth it for any other team to go chase you compared to another team, so you'll just be safe. And then you can leave murdering to other people. That would be absolutely my tactic. Hiding into this type of challenge, it's a lame tactic, but in any type of hide and seek challenge or anything, my tactic is always just go as far away as possible. You'll probably not get found first. But like we proceed to have a relatively interesting challenge. Now, this episode is definitely an interesting showcase of screen time because it does not give a damn about trying to balance screen time. It does not. It absolutely does not try. A couple of teams have significantly increased ones. There's one team, the Recovery Center team, has no screen time at all. They actually have no, just nothing. There is like, they have one scene where they're roughly there, right? Because somebody goes out of the line or something, and then they get zapped by the blue fella, the blue stick figure, which I forgot the name of. I'm sorry. And then that's it. But they don't ever, I think, actually have an on-screen appearance, which is intriguing because it almost feels, because from the target, of course, being the Recovery Center, you almost think about it, okay, this is an easy thing to rate, but then they just don't do anything with it. It's almost as if there's a global agreement between the teams that murdering Recovery Center is a bad idea, so they just don't do it. So fair enough, right? And then, of course, there's the team at the target. I guess they don't get that much screen time. But, no, sorry, not that one. There's the team that lost the first two challenges. They just jump in a hole. We don't get to see what happens down there. We don't get to see much. But they just jump down a hole, hoping for the best. They don't die. So they took the fall damage, but they just jump down, we don't see them again, we're just presume that they're safe. Okay, I mean, I guess, fair enough, if you jump down a gigantic pit, nobody is gonna chase you, so I can agree. But in general, despite of course these screen time woes in a way, not in the sense of the title, that's not a pun, not intent. Fuck, that was really stupid. But despite any of this, it kind of proves that it doesn't really matter. It proves that it doesn't really matter in the same way, right? That it's more natural in the inverse, right? Because of course, in a challenge where a team's just safe, then the popcorn popping challenge, right? They pop the popcorn, you don't need to see them again because they're safe, right? While in these challenges, it's a little bit more awkward because technically every team's in contention all at the same time, right? Which means that there's never a moment where a team gets written off in a logical way. However, in general, it kind of proves that it doesn't matter that much, if a team is just not in the run, is just not in danger, we don't need to see them be in danger, right? Because it's a solid example, right? In the same way, because I feel like a lot of shows, what they might do, and this isn't bad, because at the end of the day, more screen time is more characterization time. So it's all, so like, if you can reasonably add more screen time, I'm never against it directly. However, like, you know, a lot of shows will go like, put the team in the hole and then show a random scene in the middle that breaks up pacing. That's them playing cards down there. And then one of them goes like, "Oh, life's good, yeah?" And, you know, like, okay, I mean, it's useful to know what they're doing. And it's interesting to know, but like, at the same time, we don't need to. So I understand. And in terms of like having the episode be punchy, be like, okay, this is what matters. This is what we need. This is what we got. I think it's pretty useful. I would still have done something with the recovery center team though, because there is nothing much about that. Like, that team definitely needed something, because like they're not written out. They're just not there. At least the team that jumps in the hole, it's like, okay, sure, but that team, they're just not written out. There's no sense to everybody else. And my presumption is that people don't want to kill recovery center for obvious reasons. However, like, at the same time, nobody says that. That's just my presumption. Like, nobody actually says that in the show. It'd be nice if somebody did, at least, right? So that's why they're safe, you know. But either way, yeah, the fellas end up having themselves a bit of an attack, and yet again, in WOAS, the team that loses is just so bad at the challenge. It's unbelievable, man. Like, like, there's a degree, like, you know, when a team loses in a show and it's like, yo, I mean, they played a respectable game, you know, but they got unlucky, or they got cheated or anything. No, the team that loses in WOAS is almost always so hilariously terrible at the challenge that they're doing that is unbelievable. Like, there is such a cognitive dissonance between this team. So they decide, no, they just don't understand anything. They don't understand each other. So they want to have to go on top of the water tower, but the birdhouse ends up being, they're not a bird. But then the guy doesn't understand. Okay, then they proceed to climb the ladder. They get distracted while climbing the ladder 5 million times. Because they're having a chat about it. An alarm clock is like significantly too hyper for this. But then randomly the people get bored of climbing the tower. What do you mean? You got bored. Okay, sure. So then they dip out, and then they're gonna go attack. Well, the other ones stay on top. Okay, cool. But then they forgot that they don't have any type of communication between them. But then while we do that, Lizard Tail ends up getting friggin' the target. They get successfully fooled, but then they think like, oh yeah, target's a target. But then they get confused because then they think the challenge is over, which I mean, reasonable presumption. But if the challenge is over, the star would say the challenge is over. Come on, I understand you're the person who looked at a birdhouse and thought it was a bird, but you at least collectively, you know, one brain cell each, that's like 3 total brain cells. That should give you the opportunity to understand. Come on now. This is then yeah, because of them saying that alarm clock is the target, we end up having, of course, Lizardtail proceed to speedrun up there to try to get them. Now they actually fail, but of course we proceed to have alarm clock be excited, hug Lamp, and then Lamp proceeds to drop them down, and then they die. They break because alarm clock will break when falling down. So the team loses. No, but there's no murder. There's not, you know, Protec but also attack. More like Protec but also sabotage. This is they lose, and it's a rough one. It's a rough one here. There's a law of bad performers here. In fact, that could, everybody except Dresser is just bad in terms of how they did in the challenge. In terms of if they're good characters, I do enjoy them. But like, they performed badly in the challenge. No, like, I can enjoy Cinderblock for being like a goofy tough guy who doesn't know anything, but like, you know, still admit that his performance in the challenge was rough. Like, I'm talking a purely in-game perspective. In terms of, is the team entertaining? Like, it is entertaining, you know? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, seeing a team do abysmally is entertaining. So like I don't necessarily mind, but it's just interesting how like this is the show. This is absolutely the show where the teams who lose do the worst. You know, like I've never seen more deserved losses in my life than I have seen in this show. But Lamp's gotta go, right? I mean, like, there's no... Okay, Cinderblock, Birdhouse, and Sunnyside, the thing about them is that they're equally as complicit as each other. So, like, there's not any singular issue here that's, like, directly a problem, you know? Like, Cinderblock said that they should... No, hold on. Who said that they should leave? I think... Was that Sunnyside? I think Sunnyside said that. Wait, hold a minute. Who said that they were bored? Yeah, so, like, yeah, they're just equally as complicit as each other, right? Because, like, Sunnyside says that they're bored and gets them to go off of the plan. Cinderblock is just generally incompetent and also murders Sunnyside while they get in there, and is the one which Alarm Clock lands on, but to be fair, they couldn't see. And then but then, of course, Cinderblock's the one that misunderstands everything and thinks the challenge is done. And in the meantime, Birdhouse is the one that doesn't kill Lizardtail when they're literally on their arms. But to be fair, how would they just do that? So, like, in general, there's a problem. So, I feel like it kind of splits between the three. And then Lamp realistically has to go, especially because they don't want to take blame for it. So, Lamp feels like an easy one. But we'll see if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. WOAS eliminations, they've been surprising. You know, WOAS eliminations, they kind of think about the health of the show. So, maybe Lamp will stick around because it's kind of interesting. But it so far feels like Lamp would go. But yeah, overall, shout out to Grape Fago. Fellow BFDW contestant over there in the credits. But yeah, Recovery Center recovers everybody. Oh yeah, there's Toy Boat. This team's fine. this team's okay. I kind of like what that team's going for them. I kind of like it. You know, the kind of fair friends or fake friends or gossiping at the same time. There's like the Strawberry in there who's kind of trying to lead the evil ice cream sandwich and all be evil, right? Everything. Like I kind of like that team. They got a nice dynamic going on. I feel like that team, like is this the type of team where I feel like they'll barely ever lose. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I do see that team struggling to lose because they're the most coordinated out of any team. You know, like they might be coordinated in trickery sometimes, but like they are coordinated to a degree, and I think they can pull off some good stuff. But yeah, overall, I've talked for too long. That is WOAS. WOAS is good. I like WOAS. This episode is quite solid. The only thing that I absolutely think is missing is writing off the Recovery Center team because that didn't happen, and that just feels like a missing scene. But that's like one scene, right? You just need one scene where you go, like, oh, we shouldn't. Where like a team deliberates if they should go for Recovery Center, and then say no because that's bad, right? Just anything of that caliber. But like other than that, it's just a solid episode. It writes teams however much it needs to. The team that loses gets a lot of screen time, right? They get like 3 big scenes, no, even 4, right? Because the one with Toibo. So they got like 4 relevant scenes, right? Which means that the fellas that we're voting for get the most screen time, and therefore we have the most to think about them, which is smart, especially when the episodes aren't 28 minutes long anymore. So it's all good. And it's a show that I think is playing pretty smart. It's giving a good vibe. It's managed to get this episode out very quickly, which is very impressive. And overall, I would say that the pathway is definitively positive. So yeah, good stuff from chalkbunny and the crew. Next thing. Next up, we are going over to Archinox's channel because, again, about 2 weeks ago, episode number 3 of Battle for Dandy's World released. Yes, the Object Show that overall functions relatively outside, usually, of the Object Show niche, and is more followed by the Dandy World niche, kind of like how a lot of the Dandy World Object shows are tending to be. has released its third episode. Last episode, we ended up having a challenge, which isn't it like actually really similar to the WOAS challenge that we just took a look at? Yeah, it kind of is, right? You're supposed to protect. And eventually, two teams lost because of a fort crumbling, getting I think two at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, it'll be intriguing to see. It has been definitely quite a few months since I've done it, so maybe not too refreshed up on the characters. As far as I'm aware, Dandy's World does have, they did release a new tune. I don't think that they'll show up, but we'll see. Episode 3 is titled Rocks. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 3 of BFDW, or Battle for Dandy's World. So, it's a pretty solid episode, and I would argue probably one of the most solid episodes of BFDW that we've seen. BFDW is interesting because out of like majority of the shows that we've seen, this one feels like one of the most sort of communal craft type shows that we've seen, you know? Like, this show is much of just kind of like a committed but very large set of people kind of working on it, you know? Like 10 animators, everybody has a different voice actor, right? Like writers, everyone else, right? So like it's a big team that works on this show. And like it's one of the biggest, to be honest. And like I feel like a communal craft, and that leads to an interesting vibe that it sort of emits, right? It sort of emits a kind of more it gives a more inconsistent vibe. However, at the same time, it does also really, it does give off that kind of like community scent to it. This is, of course, most prevalent animation, right? Because, of course, from animator to animator, you will notice a difference. I think it's probably the reason why the episodes are rendered in 720p, which is something that I find kind of interesting. Because I kind of the quality changes. But like in general, you know, one of the things it's done is just it's done a good job at keeping like the average quality high, you know. It's locked it down. It's found out that, like, you know, even if from animator to animator, the major things are mounted a different way, and you know, the limbs are moved mounted differently, they at least use the same assets in the roughly the same way, and like, you know, everybody who is animating gets the assignment, basically, right? Like, you can tell there's nobody that feels like they're out of line, you know, in a way. Even though it, of course, leads to one or another situation where something feels like in a way too good, you know, and it got I noticed it, and the comments also did point it out that there is one extremely high level scene, like proper top tier, over right when V wakes up. You can tell just how smooth the movements are, in the same way that the characters are turning, especially Tisha. Tisha's turning, bro. Tisha is turning, and it is looking swagger. Okay, you can see the side, you know. But yeah, it is some high level stuff, but like, yeah, in general it causes for a strong set. But anyways, let's see what's happening in lore. So we end up figuring out, I mean, I forgot if you already knew this, but yeah, Asho seems to be, it can go into people's dreams, alright, and they proceeded to go into Dandy's dream, and they've discovered that apparently a mysterious figure said that we weren't qualified to be main status tunes anymore, and gave off various reasons. So Asho has given this information, so that's kind of intriguing. And then Dandy shows up to give ourselves the elimination. 8,800 votes, and we have ourselves the first team, which is the mains and us. So we end up having this team be up for elimination, and Tisha was supposed to get out for logical reasons. They had a relatively unjustified-ish crash out. At least, to the knowledge that we had. However, they managed to close themselves because they found on the floor a vote swap token, which allows them to swap their votes with any character of their choosing. They want to choose V, but then trip and choose Pebble, which is mildly super extremely convenient, but we'll go with it. And Dandy is not happy about Pebble because Pebble is their dog, and they'll get eliminated. They can't quite get themselves to eliminate Pebble, but they get them to sort of just sit alongside them, co-host Pebble is real. But yeah, eliminating Pebble is a very clearly good idea in terms of character usefulness, because you're not gonna do anything with Pebble. Right, in a way where like a lot of characters you can write interesting things with them, you're not gonna do much with Pebble, comparatively speaking, right? So of course, if you're a show writer and you can choose who gets out, it is a very, 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 very interesting proposition to get Pebble out, because it'll give you an extra episode with everybody else, especially considering Tisha getting out is sort of weird, because you're doing lore in that aspect, and that's kind of weird. It's one of the things where this show has kind of, I guess, it's risking it with the teams is putting up for Elon. It's not plain. It's not like, oh, the lore team never gets up for Elon. No, it's putting the lore team up for elimination. It is risking its own storyline, like, very much. But you know what? If that's what you want to do, then I respect the craft. And then we proceeded to go over to the other team, where Brainy ends up getting eliminated over Blot. Don't really remember what was going on with this team. Gonna be 100% honest. What was going on with this team, man? This team had like a leadership problem or something. Where it's like they didn't know who was supposed to, because this was like book club, right? So like they were kind of like being led by Brightney, and then it wasn't working because like not everybody was part of book club, and they were like, well, I understand that you're leading book club, but you're not leading to anyone else. And then then you tried to lead the team, and then it didn't work, and it's just the big problem. And then Scraps is mad because you went to, when I went to Goo Bundley to kill Finn, but Goo thought it was my fault. Yeah, there was kind of a little bit of a mess because like some characters went over and ran around. But in general, yeah, Brian ended up getting out. So rip. You are officially gone, and then we can head ourselves into the intro. By the way, hold on. Think about this intro. Like, if you can't, don't you need to kind of like change the text? Because like you're still putting the VHS of episode 1 in, right? I'm not watching episode 1. Like, are we? Like, shouldn't I change? Shouldn't I say episode 3? Is that like a hard thing to change? I don't know how hard it is to change. I'm sorry. Maybe it's super hard to change and it's not worth it. But like, I mean, just saying, mild detail, like why are we inputting the episode 1 VHS when we're currently watching episode 3? And I mean, the intro does have a change because it says Rocks, right? Which is the name of this episode. So, I don't know. But anyways, I really vibe with the music on this. But let's get ourselves this challenge. So, Rocks is the name of the game. Each team has a circle, and it has 5 rocks in the circle. Mr. Beast, no, I'm sorry. And you need to have the most rocks in your team. Well, no, you need to not have the least. Which means that you need to go over. Which means that, yeah, you need to grab the rocks from the other team. You can steal rocks from the other team. You just need to have more than the other teams. So you can grab a rock, but you can't grab more than any at once. And even though they don't have more than any at once, you need to also stay in bounds, of course. All right, sure. And if somebody tags you while you're running with a rock, you have to stay further. Someone from your own team tags you. This is not a mechanic that's ever used. Which is just great stuff. But either way, we end up having a start, and here we go. It's a tough challenge to make, because it's a very theoretically action-based chant, right? Like, you know, there should be a lot of running, there should be a lot of fighting, but as you can tell from the fact that you said that nobody gets tagged, it's a little bit of a mess, right? People start questioning Blot about why the hell their voice is normal, so apparently their vocal cords shuffled about and straightened out, and now they're normal. What do we think? Valid excuse? Maybe. Sure, I can accept it because you're Blot and your body, I guess, would shake around more, so I can accept it. But then if it happens again, you gotta speak backwards again, eh? I'm just saying, eh? I'm just saying. Okay, sure, you shook around too much, and now your vocal cords are fine. But then if you shake around a shit ton again, just saying, I'll speak backwards again. You know, you got. If we're making technicalities, you gotta apply both ways. But yeah, we've seen the. Oh yeah, don't admire Blot's voice, should admire my voice. Okay, Dandy, good stuff, Dandy. Dandy's voice is actually really good though. By the way, I definitely think that out of the VAs, Dandy's VA does do one of the best jobs. I don't know who it is. I tried looking at the credits. The freaking end card shows up on top of the credits. So I don't know who did Dandy's voice, but you did good. Okay. But either way, we have ourselves the challenge here. So there's a couple of teams that do a couple of tactics. Shrimple's team ends up deciding to play defense. Yeah, they decide to play defense. I hate this team. Yeah. Yeah, they decide to play defense. I guess they try to maybe go off and grab one, but Finn, I think, goes over to try to grab one, but then it doesn't really work. In the meantime, A-Ball and the apprentice of the detective that's trying to figure out what's going on with Dan, they end up discovering some information. So, they're making some important strides in the meantime, while doing alright. We end up having they apparently went to lower floors after hours, so I'm not sure what that tells us, but it tells us that they were doing something. So yeah, and then in the meantime we have ourselves this team which ends up having Tea Party team. Yeah, that's true. The Tea Party. The Tea Party team ends up involving themselves with a very, very complex tactic. So so they're trying like a 4-way attack. Okay, have Flutter come in from above, distract the fellas, while at the same time having this coming in and whatever you're called, coming in and flashing them, so that way they can't see, so they're distracted and can't see, while the fella goes invisible and grabs the rock so that they can't see, and then we put them in the container that is hidden so that they can't see. This is a 4-stacked attack to make people not be able to see. This is law. This is law. We need everybody. You're leaving your stack completely unowned. And in general, of course, the main problem is that we're placing them all in the container, right? Which means that officially they're gonna be carrying more than one rock at a time, which means they're gonna break the rules, and then of course they get called out for it. This plan goes very well, much so because the other teams are barely doing much of anything. They're really not focused. They're trying to look around, but in general, the amount of rocks that actually get stolen from our teams, unquantifiably not a lot. So yeah, Danny eventually calls him out for cheating. So the 10 rocks I think is interesting. I will point out though that the rocks don't get restored, which is a very interesting thing though, which means that you could get disqualified and then at that point you just go sabotage, right? Like if you go steal rocks, that team won't get it back. You'll still have it, right? You just are still not safe, right? Which is kind of intriguing. But like yeah, in general, that's kind of a thing. Of course, the main woe is that they didn't have to do this. You know, like having an invisible guy come in and get a rock is already more than good enough. You don't need a 4-way stealth attack. A 4-way stealth attack to do what? To have the guy that's invisible grab the rock? They can't see him anyway. The guy is invisible. What is the point of blinding them so they can't see the guy that's invisible? So yeah, that team, they kind of they overthought it a little bit, you know. There's a bit of overthinking. It goes how it goes. Either way, we end up having the idea. So, Sprout ends up going over to tell Cosmo what Ashley's going on with the main 2 status and what's going on with Garden View, which we roughly know, you know, the show went wrong and all that stuff, but, and V got, like, reset as far as we're aware, and the personality has changed because of it, and the problem is that V walks in, and this sort of mysterious thing causes the system to have a major malfunction. It seems as if, okay, I think what's going on is that there's roughly some type of, like, kind of like memory protection in a way going on with V, right? Where, like, the memories are there, right? It's just you don't access them. They're, like, blocked out. Kind of like traumatic memories. So that means that kind of like the act of V, when V hears it and, you know, tries to access these memories, the system blocks it, and that kind of causes a glitch out, right? Because V's trying to think of something, but then the thoughts are fighting back, which isn't a thing that happens, right? So then it ends up glitching out and not really working out. Asha ends up going over to V to figure out, I'm going to go read her mind. Is that safe? Absolutely not. This is not reassuring, Astra. This is not the reassurance you need to give. Yo, is this thing that you're doing safe? No, no. Like, bro, say it, lie. Much easier. What is it? Absolutely not. But anyway, they end up going in there, and we get to see the glitched out brain directly. Which is intriguing. It's a relatively solid scene with Asher flying. We get to see a little bit of a frame. I don't know what that is. It shows Dandy, then what is that? It shows Danny, shows Shrimpo, and there's something up there. I don't know if that's a character or it could just be like a lamp. But either way, they do not have happy expressions. And eventually we managed to have V wake up, system restored. And yeah, we end up having V go like, yo, no more of that, please. So that's fine. Shelly is being dinosaurs. I think that's a thing, right? You talk about dinosaurs. Okay, cool. Then we end up having the other teams end up not having many rocks. They start to realize, right, all the rocks got stolen, you know. So that's fair. Oh yeah, Scraps freaking spits on the rocks. No, they're like, I don't know, they like vomit on the rocks. So it's like, okay, if someone wants to take our rocks, they will have to, you know, take a hit, which is fair enough. And in general, it seems that the other teams, like, it's like, they're just not, they, in a way, it's like, these teams, they look unbothered as all hell. You know, it's like, okay, imagine this. You have lost 3 rocks. You have 2 rocks. You are on the chalk. They've said directly, we're going to lose like this, okay? So what do you proceed to do? You proceed to sit around like if it's a campfire and go like, yo, guys, what we going to do? I don't, it's like, you don't need to protect your 2 rocks. If you only have 2 and you're getting up for elimination, you don't need to protect your 2 rocks. Go fucking attack somebody. You know, if you are in safety zone, sure, go sit around and protect your rock. But then you are in danger. Go somewhere. It's like the maze, whatever it is, and then they go like they got 2 rocks, and then they're distracted. It's like no more doing challenges. Well, you don't do the challenge anymore. You sit around like. Go attack. You see a team and more out there, go grab the rock from them. You know, at least go give it a go. Go give it an effort. You know, these people, these characters are not giving in a correct. They're not interacting with the challenge. You know, and it's happened a lot. The characters have not been interacting. Tasha proceeds to rant to V about what's actually going on. And V's like, well, I don't really remember that, but fair enough. Either way, we end up having some situations. Hold on. Where our only options are to either being defended by Shrimp or an entire team or a hairball. Yeah, but like, I understand. It's not easy. But like, what is the idea here? Like, okay, you're like, hello, do you want to go after the rod defended by an entire team? Okay, sure, maybe not. Maybe you'll lose. But like, you gotta try, no? Like, what is this? I'm telling you, they throw in the towel. You know, maybe they don't deserve to be main tunes. You know, you know, for all that it is that Shrimpo's being mean, Shrimpo gives a damn. If Shrimpo's losing, you think if Shrimpo has two and their options are to go attack an entire team, you think Shrimpo's not going and attacking an entire team? like this is they're doing that, and also entire teams perfectly even. Well, like, whatever, bro, whatever. Either way, time's up, and we proceed to have a tea party up for elimination because of the cheating, and then the other team, the mains and us, end up being up for elimination again. So that's like third time. Well, how many times did this team go up for you? But a lot. So, all right. What is the game plan? Well, no, they actually wait. No, they don't got off for even once, right? Wait, who went off for Elam in episode 1? No, that was like a different team. Oh no, that was like a different team. Okay, that was like the team Yada. Okay, who's getting out? These are two teams with a lot of screen time, to be fair. These are two very relevant teams, which is nice. You always want to have the teams that lose be relevant to some degree. So that's really important. So that's a very good trade of the writing that's being done here. Okay. Cause like the problem about the other team is that they're globally they did a tactic very well. It's just for some reason they all agreed on a tactic that's kind of they like fish in a can or whatever it's called, the flying one. You're like the one who suggested cheating, right? Like you were like the one who that was you who were formulating the plan. So I would say that personally you gotta go, cause like cheating was your idea, especially when you had such a massive advantage you didn't even need to cheat, right? Like they just have such an advantage, you know, like the cheating was not necessary. So like it's just not it. Then on the other team, I don't fucking know, because we've roughly declared that it's not really V's fault. At least people are mad at V, but the V that's currently right here on the screen is fine, right? Like they've just lost their memory, so they just don't know how mean they were. So currently they're not that much of a problem. Tasha is being relatively mean to them. Again, the info hasn't really been given out. Cosmo and you see, there's kind of nobody to eliminate in this team, right? Like, that's kind of why. It's not that Tisha is unjustified necessarily with what, you know, they're saying, all right? Especially now as they get a little bit of that sympathy scene. It's just like, who else are you eliminating? Because I mean, like, why would you vote Cosmo or something? You know, like Cosmo or like Shelly or whatever. Like, I mean, like they are just there. You know, they don't know the ordeal. They haven't been told it yet, which means that like they are. I guess they're not being too interested. It's not their fault. You know, Sprout doesn't get time to tell them. Right, Astra is fine. Astra is actively useful. So, like, I don't know. Unless people don't like Astra going into Dreams, I think people do. I'm gonna, you know, I do think Tisha survives because, of course, this is a like minus dislike system, which means that Tisha might add the most dislike, but it's kind of one of those get a lot of dislike, get a lot of likes. So I think that they do survive. But we get let's Cosmo. I don't know. So I feel like the elimination here would make the most sense to be like either Cosmo or Shelly, because they're just the two characters that haven't done much of anything. They don't have much to contribute to the big lore that's going on with this team. But yeah, I feel like I'm saying one of them too. But this team needs to start being safe, bro. If this lore wants to progress, these people cannot. This team needs to start actually locking in on challenges. That way they can be, they forgot to bring their plot armor, but they still brought the plot. That's kind of the thing that's going on with them. But yeah, overall, that is a pretty solid episode. I like that episode quite a bit. I do think that the challenge could have been a little bit the teams could have been a little bit more active in the challenge. I feel like a lot of the teams were just kind of sitting there and not doing much for the challenge, right? When especially the teams that are losing should go for it. So in general, I do think that is a bit of an issue. But in general, I do think that is one of the most solid episodes. Animation definitely, probably it's still got its inconsistency, but I do think that the ceiling of it has increased, while also the floor of it having increased as well. So I think the animation is globally taking an improvement. I think the writing is smart. I like what they're doing with the main lore of the series. Again, the challenges, whatever. Yeah, overall, I think that I do really think that this is going in a good direction. Right now, and I think that this episode it's very promising. You know, I wish they were more into the challenge, but other than that, I think that the actual plot lines and what's going on with the characters, it's hot. It's going good. Okay, next thing. Alright, next up we're going over to Object Show Studios channel because we shall watch the second episode of Blue. Yes, Blue, a series about Object Show Studio. The composer. Now we have ourselves an interesting episode, significantly longer than the first one. The first one is basically like if it was a pilot. We get to see the base understanding. So in the ship, a monster has been let loose by some mildly incompetent workers, and we proceed to have one of them die pretty brutally, which is not good. I think, wait, who was it? Ava, right? Yeah, Ava died. Everybody else is there. Characters, things are going kind of crazy. The fellas overground don't know what they found, because the communication is being lost and everything. Situation is tough. Let's see how they get along, because it's time for episode 2, a big one, foul play. Here we go. Okay, so I have just finished watching episode 2 of Blue. Now, that is an episode right there. I think, when you watch Blue, there is one thing that's just super apparent with it, right? And it's that, it is not messing around at all. This is a show that is playing for the big league. It's aiming very high. This show is reaching for the stars. It is trying to be it is absolutely trying to reach that caliber, I would say. It's trying to reach big dog caliber, big object show caliber, and it absolutely feels like it's currently on a course to do that. You can tell because it just does details, it just does those types of extra additional things that you don't necessarily tend to see from shows that aren't trying to make it into the big leagues, right? For example, paying attention to getting good high level color coded subtitles, it's the type of thing that you only do with high levels of faith, right? Same thing goes for branding in general, that channel banner and all, and art and stuff. like promotional material, from like musical numbers, OST uploads, everything. Like, you know, even externally, it's doing all that it can. While in the show itself, it's actually you know, it's giving itself a very, very unique story, a story that, at least around the OSC, has not personally been seen before. And honestly, I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't watch many movies, and I mean, I do know that there are movies that maybe will be similar. However, like, in general, I have no knowledge of any movie that does this same plot line, or at least a super similar variant of it. So I do think it might be directly taken from any, like, a non-OSC piece as well, but that might be wrong. That I just don't know, because I don't watch that many regular movies. But, like, in general, like, it does it while being a super unique, which means that a show like this does not exist, all right, anywhere else. So it does that while also really zoning in on the powerful aspects of course, also studio and the team, which is the composition of of an OST, of music, taking it focused. That's an ambulance outside. Hello. Like, doing all of these things, really doing it a focus on the music. I was partially thinking, I was like, okay, am I noticing the music entirely because I know this show has original music? But then it's like, no, because there's other shows and I don't do it. It's because this show makes you focus on it. You know, it's directly an important part of how it operates. You can tell by those subtitles. You know, the subtitles directly point out to you when the music is the main thematic of a scene, right? This isn't even counting the musical number, of course, the song with singing in it. I mean, like, just general, like, you know, the ambient song. And I talked about this a lot in episode 1, that it was really taking in that strength. But, like, it really does. It really does. Like, it's very impressive. Well, you know, in general, taking in it's time to try to, of course, level up in any other aspects. Animation in this episode is significantly smoother than animation in episode 1. Now, I'm not exactly sure how, because okay, so here's the thing. Animation episode 1 of Blue was, as far as I'm aware, done in 24 frames per second, because that is the sort of mildly unusual animation style that OSS does. Okay, sure. Now, this looks a lot smoother than the other one, because, like, the thing about 24 is that, of course, it looks very mildly choppy, but I don't know. So gonna be honest, I just do not have the underlying knowledge of animation to really know if this is smoother with 24 FPS or if it's bumped itself up to a more regular frame count. But either way, it looks a lot smoother, and it sets itself in. And in general, again, one of the things where it doesn't shy away, you know? It's doing camera angles, a lot of them. It does a lot of camera angles. And in general, it does everything solidly. Walking, okay, maybe one walk cycle or two is a little weird. Like, you know, for example, when Catherine is walking to Theo in the song, they take, like, 2 extra steps. But, like, in general, it's like, it's not bothersome at all, right? So, and, like, it's leveling up, it's improving in that department, it's doing all of that stuff, while having, again, a super unique random, a super unique thing. So, like, Blue is, it's aiming, I would absolutely say that I don't think there's a way to look at Blue and not think that it's at least aiming for the top, right? Like, it feels like it's doing a mass hold of self-improvement, being unique, and everything, and it's just like, this show could make it. It could make it. We'll see, of course, what history decides, you know, if there's going to be word of mouth about it and all that stuff. But I do honestly think that there's some very, very, very interesting possibilities with this. Okay, but now that we've talked about the general of Blue, let's actually talk about what's going on in this episode. So we start off here with a flashback of Ava, the character which died. What are you? Caviar, right? You're like a bowl of caviar. Anyways, they proceed to get caught up to the main hall where Teresa is coming in to give them an offer because they managed to convince none other than they managed to convince Ava to do mission Titan V1, which is to go to Titan, dig under the 60-mile surface, and find life forms. The more ones which you find, the higher your pay will be. It could even reach up to what is it? Up to $3 million, which ends up being, of course, the main source that gets, especially Ava doing it, because apparently it allows her the medical treatment of the lungs, because Ava happens to have Ava's voice is looking rough. So that seems to be going on, and it seems to be intriguing because everybody agrees, it seems, that Ava was not a useful team member. From the Burger Fella to Teresa to everybody else, it doesn't seem like they agree with it. And that's true for nearly everybody else. I mean, like, if you look at majority of the other crew members, like, they've all got some absolutely massive glaring problem about them that would probably not make them a good team leader. Other than, like, Melody's fine. So, like, other than that, right, it's like, in general, it seems as if the idea might be that, like, we're gonna do a mission. Okay, what is the idea? It seems almost as if they wanted the mission to fail. It's like they wanted to go send out in Mission Titan V1, I guess, like, a sample? Okay, alright, no, hear me out. Okay, theory. I'm theory crafting live, alright? What I think is happening is that our company, which I think is called Astra, alright, ended up wanting to bring into the Titan V1 mission to explore Titan a group and a crew of unqualified people, which, in general, the company could deal with getting rid of. Why? Because they are unaware of how dangerous Titan is, and therefore, by giving out a unhelpful crew to go down there, they will most likely fail if it is truly dangerous, right? Meaning that they don't have to pay the price that they're promising to those employees because they will fail and die. However, at the same time, that will give the very valuable knowledge that there are life forms, meaning that you're able to scout it out in a different way, and then eventually in a Titan V2 mission, they would send out actually qualified, competent people that could go in there and do something, right? So that seems to be the idea. So this cast, I think the company is pretty much just treating as bait. Like, it's just bait. They're supposed to die, which is interesting. They're not supposed to actually succeed. Especially if you consider 20 life forms. You have to 20. Bro, I could walk around for a week and won't find 20 animals. How 20 life forms? Mate, what if there's only 19 of them? That's a lot. I don't know. I don't know about this contract, man. This is not the type of contract that you should sign. I understand $3 million, but for 20, come on now. That's not happening. That is not a way. But yeah, it seems as if they're become bait. Anyways, Blade wants to take care of the key driver, Mark, which is anger issues the person, proceeds to get super mad about Ava dying and proceeds to go like, no, I'll do it myself. They proceed to go at it with a sword that Michael just so happens to have, because Michael happens to have everything. Mark proceeds to get eaten, but thankfully he didn't taste good. So the monster spit him out, and we proceed to have Melody ran away, and then eventually Blade to come in with an attack and a final swing that manages to at least get it done here. So yeah, Blade gets it done. The phone's brand is Tachyon? What is a Tachyon? I don't remember. Let me look this up. What is this? Tachyon is a hypothetical particle that always travels faster than I did not know that. That is new knowledge. Alright, so that's the brand of the phone. It's a cool name. Cool name, but eventually after Blade gets rid of it, we end up having the knowledge that ends up getting discovered that Ava's dead. No, that's that's Michael's theory. Yes, correct. Good job. That'll earn you $3 million. But that Mark has been paralyzed because of some venom, and therefore they're just gonna have to sit there for now. You know, they're gonna have to lay there while they just hopefully, you know, the venom passes by itself. And nobody exactly wants to check up on Mark, because who the fuck wants to check up on Mark? So Tracy ends up being okay to do it, as like roughly teams up with Mark before. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but it goes how it goes. In the meantime, staff meeting. Well, actually, before the staff meeting, we end up having a response from the Astra Titan V1 support team, which is one guy that plays Roblox, which is interesting. Humor, okay, all right. So I will be honest. One thing that maybe not 100% sold on yet might be the humor. The humor of this show, it's like, it's threading a fine line, because like, it's a very serious show. You know, like, if the situation and the character and everything, like, it is very serious on average. And even, okay, the characters are goofballs, but they're in a serious situation, right? Like, they're not just necessarily, basically, the characters are silly, but like the environment isn't. That doesn't make the story silly, you know. Like, you can have a silly character, put them in a serious situation, right? So that makes some of the comedy be a little bit kind of awkward, you know. When it kind of just appears, especially as it seems to be like sometimes kind of focused in on being a little bit kind of like sudden, like, haha, random funny thing just happened, right? Especially like, oh, haha, they're playing Roblox, right? So I'm maybe not 100% convinced on that yet, to be honest. But like, we'll need to like see. We'll need to see. I need to still give it some time, you know, marinate a little bit. I'm gonna point that out, you know, so that it's on the record. I'm maybe not 100% convinced, and then like, hey, we'll see how it happens. And it goes, because at the same time, like, one of the things was like, well, I'm not gonna suggest the shows be serious all the time, but then it's like, I mean, isn't the vibe already good enough, right? Right? Isn't the vibe already good enough? I mean, like, if the comedy arrives when the characters being goofballs and kind of knowing how to deal with the situation, but the situation is serious, so that gives a serious vibe to the show. So do you need to add additional jokes to it? Not really, but then it's like, kind of like, is it fine? I don't know, but then does it become one note? Do you need to add more to it? You know, it's all these questions that I don't really know the answer to. So, you know better. So, either way, we end up having the hang up, because Oliver doesn't really know what they're doing. They apparently can't help, or they can't or can, one of the two. But either way, they proceeded to end up having the idea. Blade ends up successfully getting the team to go like, hey, look, I know we want to wait and stuff, but like, we need to go ASAP. Alright, you know, like, we need to just go try to find 20 life forms. You know, like, if we just sit here stalling, it's not really going to be very useful. So, we end up having themselves go clean, and in the meantime, while they go clean, we end up having a little bit more general, you know, characterization, a little bit more chat, connection between the characters taking place in this extra moment, as the expedition is going to start tomorrow, which is presumably the next episode. That's going to be really interesting to actually witness, properly. You know, like a proper expedition, because again, this show is a little bit helped out by the fact that it doesn't need to do that many backgrounds, but to be fair, they do a lot of backgrounds at the beginning. So like, it'll be interesting to see the expedition. Either way, we end up having Tracy and Mark chat. The Mark does not like. You see, the thing about Mark is that like Mark is correct about stuff. However, they're so like kind of over mad at it that they end up not even really knowing what they're saying. Like the points that they're thinking are correct, they just don't know which one's important. Right? So they proceed to kind of just randomly sneak this a character, go and be mad at everything. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but like they gotta focus on what's important. You know, you can't be out here screaming about everything. You know, some things are okay. But yeah, they nearly get Tracy to leave because Mark's upset. And then they go, no. You can stay, please. So that's fair enough. And then we end up having the last technical line of the episode, which I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but let's talk about this while I'm here. Well, while we're here, I'll talk section by section. Okay. About here ends up being like, hey, we're gonna die, by the way. And Tracy kind of gets shocked by that. It's like, oh, damn, that you really don't believe. Which, I mean, Mark's correct. No, they're dying, like, theoretically. Theoretically speaking, this is impossible situation they are in. Is it an impossible situation for anybody? Maybe. I mean, of course, it depends on what the life forms of Titan are. But, like, in general, like it's one of those things where it's definitely not something that these people can pull off. Like they just can't, you know, in any type of reasonable way, right? Which is why I mean, like it's a big underdog story, right? So you see, it's kind of like you really learn to appreciate all the, like, you see, I like the story that's building here. Now, it's a unique story, but I see what they're building here, right? It's kind of like a big underdog story, you know, all of these characters, they have their flaws, right? But then, like, you as a viewer, you learn to connect with them, right? To appreciate their strengths, because there's no rooting against. You're rooting for all of these people, right? Because they're the underdogs. They need to clutch up, like, majorly, because the company doesn't care about them. Mel doesn't really care, so like you're kind of building in, and then you create that attachment to the characters and everything. Plus, of course, a lot of them are goofballs, so they're funny, right, and all that stuff. So then it's kind of like, you see, like it's doing all of the right things, and I do actually like a lot what we're seeing here. So like, I don't know, man. Like it especially, however, this story that's a little bit, you know, but what I'm saying, this type of story, it is a bit more slow burn as you get connected to the characters. So maybe it'll take some time, but I'm like, is it? I don't want to put on the pressure, but like, I really do believe, you know, I really do believe, if I made like a predictions for what will happen, I do believe that Blue being a big show might be one of them, right? But like, I don't want to really ramp up the pressure, but like, it's just doing correct. It's just good. Anyways, in general, Michael and Melody don't really need too much to do. We end up having Ava's body. Okay, alright. The thing about Ava's body, alright? There's a warning at the beginning because of mild gore. Presumably, we're referring to this. Look. I understand that you want to make it real, but like, does Ava's body need to be like that? You know? Like, we're looking, you know, at the end of the day, it's a solid story. I mean, we get death, it's serious. The characters are talking about it, the characters are sad about it, right? But, like, you know, did you really need the eyeball? You know? Like, was that a necessary thing, you know, to make it look kind of like, that is going to make it look a little bit weird to, like, the younger people watching. You know, like, did you need to put that there? I feel like that one was a little bit of a unnecessary decision. You know, because, like, if there's certain moments, right, like, I get it. You know, I get it in an action scene or whatever, right, that you're going to do the gore. And I never say never do it, right? And especially in the last episode when it's showing it for the first time, I get it, right? But now that the corpse is just there and it's like a fact of life, is that like a necessary detail? Because it does look weird, and I could see somebody younger being a little grossed out by it, like it's a little bit like I don't know, but it's a little bit of a I don't really think that it was necessary. But either way, Catherine and Theo end up absolutely just sort of goofing about. Theo's fun. Theo is like kind of Theo's a good character. Theo's a good character. I mean, they're very, of course, like they're very cheesy from II Core, where like their instinct is to make jokes, but they're currently sort of prevented, which means that they're kind of needing to be a bit more normal, but they end up kind of being awkwardly trying to be funny anyways. But they're a good character, probably one of my favorites. And overall, we end up having some interesting things. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not a big fan of the mop. Dumbest nitpick. This is the nitpick of the century. The mop trace he's holding, I don't like it. It's moving weird. All right, not a fan. All right. Well, this is what you arrive to catch up to here. This is the useful. This is the tips and tricks that I needed. Oh, I'm so useless. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, then Blade goes into the cockpit. While Blade goes into the cockpit, we end up going into the deployment contract. What is the employment contract? Let's see it. I hereby the gate, given my current occupation for an extended amount of time, 180 days, to research for the Asher Inc.'s newest project, Titan V1. I'll share rule to the rules list. I understand that partaking in this mission may result in harm. I'm not excused to impede. Under no circumstances will I end the mission unless prompted by Asher Inc. Understand that antagonizing any parties of Asher Inc. will result in consequences of varying degrees, including on the level of foul plays. No Easter eggs here. Damn it! Oh, for a buddy. Good try. Fine. Don't want to play it away. Take the last letter of each episode and string them together like BFDI. Ready to go. Flea, ban, scat, stop reading. Okay. This paragraph, not canon. Damn it! God damn it! I'm getting trolled. Blue is trolling me, bro. I know I'm getting trolled by Blue. Okay, fine, you can make jokes. I give up. Yeah, it's interesting. As they're kind of piecing together the pieces, I don't know what is this guy reading that's surprising him so much? Hold on. Antagonizing any parties against any parties, and then he gets surprised by it. But then it says, will result in consequences of various degrees. I mean, like, yeah, that is, I mean, like, there can be many surprising parts of this employment contract, but I feel like that's not one of them, right? Not like every contract ever, like, don't be mean. I mean, of course, it's protected the corporation, but I feel like a pretty standard contract there, mate. But okay, Blade. But yeah, they end up doing that. They keep meeting some stuff. And then what do we end up having? Well, Theo and Catherine try to fix up the door, and I think they do actually manage to fix up the door, right? We end up having, yeah, they fix up the door. We end up having the song and dance. Yes, you end up having the song and dance. Blue has a song. That makes a lot of sense, of course, that Blue would have a song in it. It's not like that much of a song, you know, like a majority of it is instrumental while other things are happening. But like in general, it's a solid one. It's a nice one. The microphones do feel a little bit like they're in a different kind of situation during the song than during the actual VAing, right? It feels like it's almost like further away, or you know, like you can just tell it's mixed differently, so that's maybe a detail. But like in general, it's fine, and even like the II songs, you can usually pretty clearly tell that it's mixed differently. So overall, the songs is pretty solid, and I have no critiques to it. It's like cute, you know. It's cute. It'll be interesting to see if this is something that the show will continue, right? Because doing more musical numbers, it's kind of one of those things that kind of like, it arrives a little bit with a danger, of course, because you can always suffer from the problem of, hey, if you do too many musical numbers, they won't feel as special. However, this show is good enough with music to where I would personally say go for it. You know, music is one of the most important parts of it. So, like, the possibility of kind of musicaling it to a degree, and having it really play to that strength, I would say sure. You know, I would not mind it at all. But yeah, and overall, that is episode 2 of Blue, right? As we end up closing it off with an epic scene of Saturn and Titan over there for the credits. So that's cool as hell. And then we end up having the final scene where it seems as if Isla ends up seeing that there's a call history from the Titan V1 mission and calls over the assistant, Oliver, and into going, yo, what is like going on? And Oliver tries to play cool and then doesn't really work. So then we end up having them be like, yo, contact my son about this. It's for some reason. His name is, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name just yet. Okay, alright. But let's be honest with me here. Is this an Elon Musk joke? Is it an Elon Musk joke? Because they named the kid, who knows? Who knows what the name is? Is that the joke? And because Elon Musk, it's like SpaceX. So then, like, Astra is like the SpaceX equivalent of this world, and then it's like that's what's going on. Isn't the CEO? Hold on, doesn't it say who the CEO is? Who's the Elon Musk? Hold on, give me a moment. Cranberry is the Elon Musk, okay, of the world. We have officially discovered this, so that's useful. But yeah, Isle apparently has won an award, so that's good. Good job. And then eventually they end up being a little bit surprised about it, but they're not too convinced. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we're gonna need to call them directly at some point. But overall, that is the second episode of Blue. It's good. It is a good episode of Blue. It really feels like it's improved. You know, like it's improved. Musically, it's very charged as it is. Animation is improved. The writing, you know, it's sort of fleshing out its story. It's a slow burn story, so we're gonna need a little bit of time. Of course, that episode 3, you know, like as we're heading into the expedition, at the end of the day, the expedition, right? That's the main nitty gritty. Because we want to see them succeed. We need to see them succeed in the expedition. So I feel like we need to see one more episode to see how the nitty gritty of how an episode writing will usually tend to be, right? But like, in general, it's looking very positive. It's looking very promising. And yeah, overall, I do absolutely have to sing this show as praises, because it's doing good work, is doing it in the right way. I'm not seeing many issues with it, you know, like that's kind of the thing about it. I don't see a problem, you know, like everybody criticize just nitpicks for the fucking sake of it, right? But like none of those details matter really, right? So like in general, I am very positive. I'm very confident. Well, I am confident that if the show it pulled off its potential, that it would be very good. Is what I'm trying to say. Okay. But like in general, I want to believe, and I kind of do believe that this show's gonna be a good one. But yeah, I enjoy this. Anyways, if I have time, maybe what you're about to hear is a spicy little cover of Now and Forever. Let's see if that's the next section. We'll stick together now and forever, never having to fear the seal that never comes together. We will never conceal. We'll always stay true to one another. We always be appealed until the day has done its say, and we'll all rest to heal. This just doesn't make sense. What? Wait a minute. Under no circumstances will I end the mission unless... So, maybe I... Just let me work, please. Melody, I have great news. Please, Michael, just let me work. Melody, come on, just look at me for a second. Fine! Adivina que encontré. You've got to be kidding me. I'll have your back whenever you need me. I'm always here for you. I'll help you pass the obstacles leading on to the simple truth. You'll know you're always loved by me. You'll make it to your destiny. We'll stick together now and forever. Always to never knew to this bond now will always and always forever be true. Next up, we are going over to timzipoo's channel because we are going over to the 5th episode of FourPoint indeed. Yes, what happened last time? Last time we had pretty much a Mr. Beast video, stay in the circle, don't dare step out, and we did classic object point shenanigans after the elimination of Forky. Afterwards in this episode, it turned out that right at the end, I don't even know who lost. It was like on accident. I remember, Boto, who doesn't move, ended up accidentally getting pushed off, which means that their team ended up being up for elimination. Well, we'll see who's getting out in due time, because it's time for episode 5, which is titled AngstPhobes Nightmare. Go! Okay, so that is episode 5 of FourPoint by the one and only timzipoo. So, it's a kind of intriguing episode. You know, with FourPoint, you kind of know what you're getting into. I would say that this episode probably felt the tamest out of the 5 that FourPoint has had so far. It's a little bit more toned down, you know. Like, I'm not saying that it's normal, no, but like, it's definitely the most chill, you know. It was like kind of the cleanest watch, in the sense where you're not gonna get like super like shook by a moment, because of course, you know, the last 2 episodes had the whole gag where the entire episode gets stopped for like 3 minutes by that monologue, which is fine, but it of course completely breaks up pacing, and then the previous episodes are a scream fest. So in general, we end up having the most like technically solid paced episode, I guess, while still holding its gags, which I will say that, like, out of the 4-point-ish gags, I do personally prefer the ones that are kind of like surprise, saying bold thing quickly, and then it's kind of like a surprise in detail. You know, those are the ones which I personally consider the most humorous, because kind of holy shit, right? Rather than a lot of the other ones, which are more reliant on, you know, being loud in general. So that's kind of what I think. However, as I usually say with 4-point, it's not really my style, and that's on me. So judging it based on that is not too much of something. So I try to never like really judge it too harshly, because it's really not like I am not the person who's the target audience, and therefore, you know, I'll discuss it, but I'm not out here going to sit here and tell you whether the jokes are good or bad, because I'm not the one. Bottom ones are getting eliminated at the elimination time, which is very early this time. But yeah, no, Battle? No, Bottle just gets eliminated, apparently, and they apparently were trying to do a Luigi, but it didn't work. Vortex is apparently now sad. They don't say anything for this episode. Are they gonna turn into Bottle for solidarity? Bottle didn't do anything, so now Vortex is gonna go like, damn it, I gotta be like Bottle in solidarity, and proceeds to not do anything. As the challenge ends up being, well, before the challenge, there's still an altercation about the fact that we can't do the challenge like everybody's dead. Okay, and Starry's like, okay, well, cool, but like, they cannot revive them. What do you want me to do? So, fair enough. But then they're also, of course, kind of mean, which means that they keep murdering more people, so it's not exactly great. Like, it's globally problems being had, alright, which is, a problem, but then problems are being had, which is a problem, yes. But yeah, eventually people keep going off and sorry about it, not allowing those challenges. We Starry really tries to recover somebody. It doesn't work. I don't know why it ever would. It actually fails dramatically. This is like significant. Bro is worse than X at recovery. Bro is like way worse than X at recovery. But in the meantime, iPad and Button proceed to teleport themselves away. So that's a plot point for a future episode, because we don't really know what's going on. The fella that doesn't talk anymore because their mouth was shut, but he is still has taken note of this. So, you know, keep that in mind, gamers. Keep that in mind for, you know, the next time. Keep it in mind. Keep it on the brain key. All right, good. And then after Starry gets so pissed, they end up being okay, fine. Your challenge is to make a recovery center. I mean, sounds like a pretty impossible challenge. However, to be fair, if there was one before, that would mean that it is possible to make one, right? So fair enough. Then they proceed to give it a go. We end up having various tactics, like looking around in the dumpster after 10 ball in Earth. They're getting easily seduced, I must admit, but they proceed to go over and getting hit by Diamond D, who's freaking exploded, and then Tangerine, who's also exploded. It's not just Potion Black. End up kind of saying them. Then we end up shooting Diamond D. Diamond D died. Maybe, who really knows if somebody died in the show. Then what else do they want to do? They want to, oh yeah, the vortexing. They want to shoot a lightning at Starry, because if they shoot a lightning at Starry, they might be able to give them recovery. It's like a superpower. You know, they believe in the thing. You get hit by lightning, you get the flash powers. Okay. Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing about our plan that doesn't work, is that like it's Starry has the power of recovery. They just don't know how to do it, you know? It's kind of like how, for example, any person, they can play hockey. They don't need to get struck by lightning and suddenly I can play hockey now, right? but like you don't have the skills for it. You gotta kind of like, you gotta train, you gotta work on it, right? That's kind of like the example, and the same thing goes for any power of a superhero. No, like sure they have it, but just because I have jumping capability doesn't make me a good jumper automatically, right? But yeah, they use his character club. That's true. The other fellas are doing that. Then we have Fry. This Fry's impression is so it's like over the top to level. It's actually hilarious. It's so I don't know. You see, this is me. I kind of enjoy the 4-point episodes when they're a little bit less broken down in terms of pacing and shouting, and they're a bit more like this. I mean, like Fries is shouting, but it's not loud. You know, like, you can shout, just don't have it be loud. But like I'll be honest, I do kind of prefer this episode to some of the other ones. But again, it's it's just that it's the opposite opinion to what the target audience is. So like, while I'm saying that, you gotta not listen to me, right? Because like the average person watching 4-point probably thinks this episode's lamer than the other one. I mean, I don't know what the general opinion is, but and I said this I think the other time, which I talked about 4-point as well, where like I don't know what the general opinion of 4-point is, and that's the more important one. And I still have no idea what the general opinion of 4-point is, but like you gotta listen to them, not me. All right, you gotta find a different person. But yeah, then we end up having Karen going over to do a challenge. Then we end up having the fellas, the applesauce, and they're going over to ask them to wants iPad's help. However, iPad's not there. Okay, fair enough. Then we end up having the Dorito, whatever you call it, now the chip ends up trying to save Starry from the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt ends up not quite hitting Starry, and then Starry gets fucking pissed. Fair enough. Then Carrot and Marshmallow ends up using the time machine that just happens to be there, and they go back to the past to get the turkey off the mate. No, they go back to the past to fetch the recovery center. From there they proceed to fetch the recovery center, which is pretty epic, and then they win. Well, they don't actually win. They get the recovery center out. However, by the fact of getting the recovery center out, they don't get out themselves for some reason. They just roll it out, and then they're doing no. Oh wait, never mind. Fuck, I forgot. They're caged up. That's why they're in a cage. Like they threw it out, but they couldn't because they were in a cage. Fair enough. So then eventually the fellas from the useless compartment, right, the fellas that wouldn't do anything, end up just kind of being in the vicinity, which means that they end up doing it. So Cheese, the useless character, quote unquote, manages to successfully get the recovery center to Starry, is safe, and nominates Crayon's team to be up for elimination. Who should get eliminated? I don't really know. NATO, dude, it's like these dead characters are not. It's not their fault, man. You know, that's kind of like the main thing. But it's like nobody's fault they don't have screen time. I would eliminate NATO, or Nito, because like it's just, it's a character. We've seen a lot of Nito in other 4-point seasons. It's been a very prevalent character, and even though I don't like eliminating characters directly based on like, oh, they've done it before, like I actually think that's a rather bad way to vote. I think that in this situation when there's so little information, I would personally get them out. Yeah, I would get Nito out because I don't think that the Dorito here's doing did anything wrong. So like, yeah, in general, that's what I would do. And we end up having, or something. Oh yeah, dude, I don't want the gag of putting somebody's just a completely random other person's name in the voice acting credits, and then they just don't work on the show, so they're just nobody's there. I mean, fair. Technically correct. Whoop-doo did voice act nobody in this episode. That's true. That is facts. That I cannot argue with it. Fair enough, but oh, that's funny. But yeah, overall, that is FourPoint episode 5. It's toned down, and usually, personally, how it goes is when it tones itself down, I kind of like its humor more, right? Because I think I like the shock humor when it relies on the shockingness of the statement more than the shockingness of just the way that it got said, right? Which means that kind of like I wouldn't prefer it. However, I still personally believe, at least from my assessment of how the community might be, what it guess is that they would probably like it less because it's different. So we'll see. Again, you gotta ask. It's difficult to say. It's always difficult to get the opinions because the YouTube comments are usually positive. The Discord is usually fans, right? So then it's kind of like, all right, what's the situation? Who really knows? But we shall see. We shall see in the future. But for now, that should be all for the FourPoint catch. As far as I'm aware, okay, I gonna be honest, I have no idea TimzipooOSC watches this. I have no idea, cause I will be honest, Tim has seen some, has commented on some of them. But then on these ones, on the ones with where the coverage actually is on that, never. So not sure. We'll need to see. But that's kind of why I give this whole retrospective talk about it, because I think that it's kind of useful to give. But anyways, it is now time to go over to the next thing. Next up, we are going over to Redarko Animations channel because episode 3 of Bottom of the Barrel has released after a 7-month wait, of which, of course, I've only done about 3 of them, 3 of those months. But it's been a while since I watched BOTB. But as far as I remember, the last time Coffee Cup got eliminated. We ended up having ourselves some interesting things, and then the challenge was to make the best pizza. If I'm not mistaken, one of the pizzas loses due to having diesel in it. So, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Don't put diesel in the pizza, kids. But, yeah, episode 3 is significantly longer than episodes 1 and 2, sitting at 17 minutes. It is titled World's Edge. Let's see how BOTB has taken the next step. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 3 of Bottom of the Barrel World's Edge. So, we have ourselves a very interesting episode, an episode that is very different to how those first 2 BOTB episodes were and how those first 2 BOTB episodes felt, which in a way is something that, it's to be expected. However, indeed, it is the case. We end up having ourselves a relative, technically, it's more of it's a world building episode because our host TP as well as all of the co-hosts end up being incapacitated because of the pizza with diesel in it, which is bad, so fair enough. So they're now going to be gone for a few months. So in the meantime, the fellas just get to live around and walk around, right? So we end up having them appear at ANRAV. Alright, so as they appear at ANRAV, they proceed to go okay, sure, let's explore this, I guess. Some fellas end up going, alright, man, let's try to give it a explore. Let me ask the locals, okay, if they know anything about this place, right? Or memories from the past, or just anything, and go with it. And then we proceed to head ourselves over to that moment. In the meantime, let's talk about some of the technical details. Animation. Gonna be honest, I don't remember animation in the first 2 episodes very well. However, I do remember it being kind of interesting. And I think that this animation, it felt relatively smooth, you know, the characters moved, they did their thing, and especially certain scenes, like, it has its highs, you know, like, there's certain moments where you can see, a very interesting ceiling, like, like, the average level is pretty okay, but there's sometimes it has certain scenes where, like, I feel like the scene's very high, right? Like that ceiling, no, sorry, like that moment where the Rock is about to jump off and the fellas hold him, right? Like that scene, it's a very well composed shot, you know, which is it's very intriguing, how some of it goes, but like in general that's pretty solid. In terms of writing, it's this episode, again, it's a world building episode, so it takes its time with things, but I think it did everything pretty solidly. It does what it needs to do in about 17 minutes of time, and I do genuinely 100% feel like I have a better understanding of the situation. So it's not made anything like too confusing. It's looking, everything is doing pretty solid. And in general, everything's alright. Voice acting is also alright. The voices are relatively distinct. The only thing that's similar about them tends to be sometimes, you know, kind of like accents and stuff. So, maybe like one or two extra characters, especially if any other character kind of drops into the show, I would say that they should be VA'd by somebody else, just to kind of vary up a little bit of, you know, word pronunciation and stuff, because it's kind of, no, that's one of the ways to separate characters, but a nice way to be solid. And then we have ourselves the lore. So we end up asking the locals if they know anything. However, these locals don't really make much sense. I'm gonna be honest. They ask some question. It doesn't. It's just a global mess, and it's not good. It's not going good. There is also, there's this kind of like black drop, like oil drop fella, which it says get out. Now, this is one of the interviewed fellas. There's nothing much special about the scene necessarily. However, the only thing that's interesting about it, they appear in the intro. They appear in the intro, which is a important detail to say, because of course this intro seems to have a lot of little details here and there. The old BOTB intro also had details that we didn't know. However, here we also had details that we don't know. There's a gag with Susie and Chris, nice, proper callback. And in general, they don't really know. However, they just happen to meet a researcher who has been there conveniently, which, you know, good job. And then we get to this intro themselves. So, who's special in this intro? Let's actually try to figure this out. We've got a lightning fella, a soda fella. They seem like algebrainistic. Then we end up having, yet again, our droplet that we ended up mentioning. They get tackled by our researcher, Air Fryer. Then there's also maybe another investigator fella looking character, like a magnifying glass. So some things happening around then. In the meantime, we end up having stop sign just kind of wander off. Because they don't want to stay with Coffee Cup. I'm sorry, bro. G. You are like, yo, how do you feel being the first eliminated? And then Coffee Cup proceeds to start answering your question, okay? And then you go, so annoying. Oh my god. It's like, bro, you asked. You quite literally asked. You can't. Who asked you, bro? What are you? You can't. Oh, come on. Double standard. So, oh my god. Whatever. Stop sign ends up going over to find the most comfortable bed in the world, which is, I like how that's like a national monument. That's just on the floor, in the plaza. And yeah, it works. It's a good bed. It's good. It's a good bed. It's functional. It's a bed that seems to be working. You know, stop sign proceeds to sleep for like a month. So pretty good. Then we end up having some knowledge of what Air Fryer's previous research is. So what does the previous research for air fryer entail? It entails that, well, you can't go down because it's made out of quartz, which is interesting. You can't go up because it's the sky. So then the only option that the air fryer has never tested is to go to the side. Right? If you go to the side, maybe the world might not be infinite. There might be something over there. So then the fellas were like, oh, you want to just adventure forever and hope for the best? Yes. And then, the fellas, they agree. They don't have much better to do. Now, they could have maybe gotten, a vehicle. They're just walking. You're telling me they're just walking for a month straight, bro? I get it. But, you could... they don't have cars, but at the same time, they have cars. Surely, there's no way. It's okay. I don't know. I feel like they could have invented cars, but eventually they do find it. They find the Abyss, which gets a logo as if it's a team. Yes, the Abyss, the new team. But it's a cool logo, to be fair. I don't know, I should knock it. I do actually like it. But yeah, they end up meeting the Abyss. In the meantime, TP wakes up alongside the other fellas finally. And then they proceed to go over. But first, toilet paper and we're like, yo, y'all people from different shows. Look. How about this? I'm going to show you around because this place is cool and stuff. So then they get to see all of the cool things. We yet again have a presence of this fuck-ass droplet. I don't know. This is the most important character in the show, I'm telling you. This character, this is the villain. This is the main villain guy, okay? I'm telling you. They've appeared 3 times. They've been referenced 3 times. Alright? This character is too important. But yeah, we do proceed to go over there. I like how, by the way, Clock is hosting the All-Star season now, yeah? All-Star season. It's been a bit since this episode was written, unfortunate. But Norway has to go but to make regular option. No, you don't. No, you don't. That shit's never happening. This is fake news. Anyway, we proceed to have the teleport, but before the teleport to the contestants back, we end up having a moment where they assess it. Brock ends up being going yo, I'm just gonna jump. There's nothing better for us to live for. So they proceed to literally just take the leap. While the other ones, of course, won't dare. Because the myth apparently says that, hey, there might be an exit door around here. There isn't. There's just the void. But yeah, the guy proceeds to lift off. This shot is admittedly very cool. Yeah, I will admit, I think that the visual, this entire scene, okay, I understand, this entire scene with the goopy whatever this is no, I have no idea what it is. It grabs them. What does it do? Hold on, is there an impact frame? Wait a minute, I'm trying to. No, okay, there is an impact frame, but but it doesn't give information. They proceed to kind of snatch them, and then they're not there anymore. Then eventually the thing quiets down. So maybe the Abyss, but I don't know. It seemed like an attack. It seems like the Abyss got disturbed. You know, it was kind of looking like the Abyss. Well, I'm calling the Abyss a character. I don't know what it's called. It's kind of like somebody dropped down, right? The Abyss sort of woke up. Was like, huh. And then eventually saw him. I was like, "Whoa, you do not enter my domain." And then was like, "Yeah." That's the best way. That's the definition, right? And then the attack, and then they get teleported, right? They got saved, right? The rock gets saved because oh wait a minute, no, hold on. Wait a minute. They get attacked, and then there's one impact frame that hits on the left, which is his right, okay? And then they proceed to disappear the next frame. So they got TP'd out in the middle of the attack, which would mean right? That if he got TP'd out in the middle of the attack, that would mean that a part of it has hit him. So therefore, his eye is purple. Oh, because that attack is straight at the eye. I think that's what happens. They were trying. I think the Abyss was out to murder him. I think the Abyss did not want him around. The Abyss was out to murder him, and then as they're about to do the lung, they get teleported, but it's still a little kick in. So now their eye is purple because they got hit. Right? It's like a damage. It's like corruption almost. Maybe the Abyss is supposed to maybe it. What could it be? Maybe would try to engulf you. Alright, it's one of those things where it's like you melt into it, right? You corrupt into the Abyss, right? So if it engulfs you, you'll turn into the Abyss, right? You'll turn into more blob. So that's how it kind of feeds itself, right? that might be correct. That feels right. So then so then you can see the touch, you start, because every time that the Abyss touches you, you become more like the Abyss, right? Okay, I mean, that's it. Okay, there's an intriguing proposition. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Of course, our fella has stayed there, because of course they don't get teleported because of the competition air fryer. Now, one thing happened. We could just teleport air fryer. They could just ask. I feel like that would not be a bad idea if the contestants asked to teleport air fryer. I mean, I don't know if the guy TP could do it, but I feel like they could ask, because then, I mean, the guy's just stuck there. He's either jumping down or he has to walk a month back, right? So it's kind of I don't know, but that is intriguing. But yeah, we end up having TP get asked about what the situation is, and they proceed to tell. So, their own lore is that they aren't from here. They're from somewhere else. However, they are trapped here, but it's not his fault. They're just trapped here mysteriously. Just like everybody else, what happens is a door pops up, they walk out, and then they lose consciousness. And then suddenly they don't remember any of their memories and sort of reset from there. So that means that, however, that's this is a thing that happens. However, it's not his doing. He's just a being from there. So he's like, why would I do this? You know, what's the point of that? Oh, you think the other people are here, right? You think I got all of them? Right? So they proceed to be honest, no, that's why I'm posting this instead, because it's oh, look, y'all are here, I might as well do something entertaining, you know? And they thought they were doing a pretty good job. You know what? I mean, as far as hosts were concerned, it was fine. I feel like TP's performance as a host is okay. You know, overall, it was not bad. It was not bad. A challenge too. You know, it's unfortunate the Diesel, but of course, you know, after you spend a month incapable of hosting, you're not hosting very well. But in general, I will say that it was a fine performance. I think they were doing a pretty alright job. You know, it's kind of the contestants, they're not. It's a bit of a different situation, because the contestants, they're not revolted at the show's existence. They just want to know. Right? They want they want the option to opt out more than they'd want to actually opt out. It's kind of that thing, right? It's kind of when, you know, when you're forced to do something, it's kind of okay, well, you know, you might want to do it, but you'll probably still be better off if you know that you don't necessarily have to, right? It's kind of one of those. It's kind of like the famous thing where you clean your room, right? And then you want to do it, but then as soon as you're forced to, because parental figure comes in and goes out, yo, you gotta clean the room, and it's well, now that you have to, that's not as good anymore, right? So then it goes here. It's now, since you have to participate in the competition, right, and there's nothing else in the tour, since you have to be here, that's not good. So you want answers, but it's not necessarily that you wouldn't enjoy being in the competition. You just need to know that you can leave, right? So it all seems to make sense. Rock is not necessarily convinced. As far as our kind of fella, and they're going in and they're going like, yo, I mean, they don't really look like they're lying, to be fair, and I mean, they really don't. They really don't. Like, I feel like it's honest. I mean, it makes sense, because none of the other people really seem like they're from here anyways, right? None of the other people in town seem that they're from here, and that would explain some other things, right? Like the super old man being 3 years old, right? Like, that's apparently a thing, so that would explain it, right? Popping in from the door, so that means that you're 3 years old here, but that doesn't mean you're 3, but that's why you're still an old man, right? That's how the younger folk who's probably been here longer would remember because of that, right? So that makes more sense. But yeah, at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, what's going on? So I think that, is it honest? I think yes. Is the only thing that could maybe be dishonest is that maybe he is doing it, but like, I don't know. I kind of don't believe it. I'll be honest, I don't believe it. All right, maybe I'm gullible. All right, maybe I'm gullible. It says gullible on the ceiling. But, like, I think that that monologue was all facts. I think that there were no lies. All right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that there were no lies. Overall, that is BOTB 3. It's a very different type of episode. However, it's a strong episode, I would say. I have the record player about how Rock is still not convinced as they're going to document everything. But overall, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like this episode. I think in general the episodes today have been pretty good, but I would say that this one is also one that's pretty solid. It's a relatively hefty one. It's a different style, but it takes its time to introduce the world. Now we have a deeper understanding of it, so now we can roughly look into the competition, but with that additional knowledge, right? Which means that we can have the episodes be a bit longer because that additional knowledge, right? Like 10 minutes, but not as long as this, but not as short as the other ones. So we're probably gonna have 10-minute episodes ish, right? All this stuff, it's all looking pretty solid. As usual, of course, it has sort of stuff out on the left, but it's kind of like, okay, you do this once, you'll probably be able to do it now, right? So I'm not expecting episodes to take 7 months again, right? But like on average, I think that we're looking pretty solid on this case. But yeah, I'm interested in BOTB. The world has become a lot more interesting since, yeah, it's taken it from kind of shitposty show to a show that's actually trying to deliver a story, and I think that's nice. That's nice to have that. Good job, BOTB. Next thing. Okay, next up we're going to take a super quick trip over to Samalache's channel because episode 2 of Sus, or short Universal Show, released as a reminder for how this work that we end up having to vote characters to join until the final episode that ends up having the gimmick. So until then, we don't really know what's happening, but it's time for Sus 2, which is titled Objects Never Escape. Here we go. Well, Keyboard is officially in the lineup for the mystery gimmick that not even the creator knows. They seem to be very confused. Fair enough. I would be too. Their wife is not here yet, apparently. I don't think it's one of the options, but maybe one time it'll be. But yeah, it's an intriguing premise, but like, I don't know what is the gimmick. Again, like, it's so goofy, cause do I trust this show? I don't know. Maybe it's asking for a lot. One thing that I do hope that this show does at a minimum, in these in between episodes, is I really want this intro to be updated. If in episode 3 we get an intro with the host and then Keyboard, and in episode 4 we get an intro with the host, Keyboard, and whoever else, and the intro just like gradually fills itself out, that could be a nice way to have some evolution in between these episodes, because otherwise it's gonna be so boring. But yeah, overall that is all for Sus 2. There's nothing else for me to add. I mean, like, I guess who would I vote for? I don't know. What are these objects? One of them looks like a lipstick. The other one looks like ski goggles, or like a, yeah. And the other one, last one, I don't. What is that? That looks like a. That's like a plant, bro. That's like a rock with, that's like a snake. No, what is that, bro? Huh? That's like it's like a sandwich, I think. I think it's a sandwich. Okay, well, I would probably vote the sandwich. I vote number C. But yeah, that's all. Let's go to the next thing. Next up, a trip over to Percy Roblox's channel. It's been a while since we've been here because the former series which they did, which was Battle of the Object, if I'm not mistaken, has been cancelled. It is not here anymore. It's been just gone. However, a new series has taken its time. It's taken its toll. It's taken its replacement. It is titled Another Normal Battle. It had its first episode, again, about 2 weeks ago. 4 minutes long. It's titled Find That Stone. I'll be interested to see if there was a quality bump in between Battle of the Objects and Another Normal Battle. Let's go. Okay, that is Another Normal Battle episode 1. So, not what I was expecting to be seeing at all here. I'm gonna be honest. I think the thing that surprises me the most is just how classic it feels, you know? Like, this is if So Retro was an object show. Alright, you know, like, it's really doing it. From, the assets being, you know, kind of that style, to using limbs and mouths from original BFDI. The tracks is all Kevin MacLeod. The backgrounds is all grasslands. Again, it's all very BFDI. The host, like, every single element of this is in some capacity like so BFDI-esque, basically, right? Which is very intriguing. Now, it makes for a show which overall, you know, you don't see that many shows like this nowadays, because it's just been a while. It's just been a while since original BFDI, and you know, I guess kind of like the original BFDI has become kind of old, quote unquote, in the way that it is. For a person, I actually don't mind something like this, and I think that, especially compared to how something like Battle of the Objects or whatever was the other name of the series from Percy, it's a massive improvement. You know, the assets are assets. You know, they weren't hand drawn but bad like how they were. They actually feel relatively solid. You know, like it's got the absolute by. You see, it's kind of, one of the seasons is complicated because, like, it does have the fundamentals relatively down. You know, like, this episode doesn't really screw up in any department. Like, you know, however, it doesn't screw up in any department by not risking it. It does not risk it, man. Not one bit. The only way that this, I would say, the only fundamental that I think it is lacking is focus, to be honest, because we end up kind of having a couple of little moments where I feel like it could have been written better, right? Like, for example, why are the teams like this? I don't know. There's just a little UI on the screen that says the team. Okay, sure, that is good. However, like, you could have also just, you know, done team forming, right? Like, your episode's 4 minutes. It can be 5. and then some other things like the fact that this challenge doesn't make sense. The challenge is to find the best rock. The first person to find me the best rock wins. Well, hold on. You don't know if it's the best rock until the other team has bought their rock. So that means that you just have to find the best rock. But then the team just ends up finding a good rock, and then they're safe immediately. Oh, this is a good rock. You sit. Well, the other team didn't even get a chance to bring a rock. So the challenge is technically not just get me a rock the fastest, and if it's good, it counts. You know, get me a good rock the fastest, right? But yeah, overall, it does everything pretty solid. I think the part which this does do itself the strongest though. I think that the part where this shows the strongest is voice acting. Voice acting is actually really strong. I mean, again, it's BFDI-esque. It's very over the top. However, I would say that it's actually good, strong voice acting. You know, audio quality of these microphones very high. It's actually very high. I can understand them very clearly, and I definitely think that that is the biggest point. That's the plus for the show. And yeah, overall, if you're curious, we end up having a key card find a perfectly circular rock and give it over, and they win. Meaning that the other team, the team of girls, I guess, are up for a notebook. I guess you get eliminated because they're kind of bossy. But yeah, so overall, the general opinion on this is that it's definitely alright. However, it's gotten fundamentals, and I think it's nice to have a layer of what solid fundamentals look like, right? Again, not everything's perfect, you know. I think a couple of asses a little bit goofy. You know, I like key card. I don't think that looks like a key card. I think that looks like a jar, but like, you know, it could have some text on it to help out. But like in general, like, it has the fundamentals, nice, you know, it's a big improvement. However, now that you have the fundamentals, I do think that it should look to try to evolve, right? Like, it set itself up in a very BFDI-esque style, in a very BFDI-esque animation, very BFDI-esque setting, very BFDI-esque teams, BFDI-esque host, BFDI-esque voice, VA, right? And now it just has to, like, experiment, right? Because if you just do this, I mean, like, you can, and it'll turn out as a show that is fine. But, like, you know, it's not going to be very satisfactory to either watch or to do it. You know, like, it'll be just fine for both the creator and it'll be fine for the viewer, right? But it's not going to really have tried much, right? So I feel like now, that you've got fundamentals relatively down, you gotta, you know, take these fundamentals and you gotta try to evolve on it, right? You gotta be like, all right, I'm gonna try changing the environment. You know, I'm gonna try teleporting them to the moon, or teleporting them into a factory, right? Or teleporting them into a place where I actually have to make a background, right? Teleporting a place that's not in BFTI, you know, like abandoned house or whatever, right? It's something like that. And then boom, that's an experimentation. You gotta test out a different setting, right? Or you know, I'm gonna test out a different type of team, right? I'm gonna test out these challenges not been done before, right? Or anything. They're like, oh, here I'm gonna test out, you know, the different wall cycle. Oh, camera angle. Ooh, you know, I'm gonna try close up. All right, I'm gonna try like an action shot. I'm gonna try like a show. You know, you gotta just kind of like, you got fundamentals. This is the fundamentals. Now, get creative. Just experiment with stuff until you get to kind of develop. You know, because like you've done. It's kind of like when you get a template, right? Yeah. Have you ever made a game? No. Okay. Well, cool. Have you? Like, you know, when you're like when you're like making a game or design or something, and like kind of like you take the template, right? Like you take the template, and then you eventually, you know, you tweak the template, you change it so it eventually becomes your own. You've taken the template, it's very BFDI, you know, original, very BFDI original, and now you need to make it your own. So you need to tweak here, tweak there, and go from BFDI identity to your own identity by changing elements and forming your own identity. That's what you gotta do. Good luck with that. Next thing. Alright, you know what? That will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. I thought I was going to do something else. However, decided to change my mind. I have a rough outline for how I want the next few episodes of it to go. And I do think I can pull this off. So for that, I have decided that look, we did, of course, enough. We did enough. It was a relatively big episode, I would say, despite its unassuming length is only 2 hours. Yes, because now the average force length of a catch-up isn't 1 hour; it's 2. I would say that it was a big episode. We covered some big things that we missed out on. A lot of them with a lot of views. There was a whole song and dance. There are some big episodes that we covered, even though we didn't cover that many of them. I still think that this is an eventful episode. So I am personally quite satisfied with it. But yes, what I will say is that I plan on doing more keep-ups in the next episode, and maybe, just maybe, from looking at how the situation is going, I might try to complete the keep-ups. However, we're gonna see, hopefully. I'm not exactly sure how long that would take, but we shall hope for the best. For the shows that we watched today, we are all caught up. Whatever the next episode is gonna be, I want it to be a big one. So I'm going to that 107. We'll cover everything that is missing because, I'm going to say it. That's the plan. I'm going to cover everything that is missing. Maybe it'll take more than a day and cover everything that is missing and then BFDW. That's the plan. I'll share the plan. Why not? We're open communication here, right? So my idea, keep us in the next episode, BFDW after, then, who knows? After that, we find out. But for now, that is the plan. All right. For the show that we watched today, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.